How's it going, everyone? Jamie, how's it going, mate?
What's going on? Oh, my laptop just fell over. But other than that, we're doing good.
It looks like you're bouncing up and down, but it must be your
It's
laptop
the
screen
cameras on
moving.
the top. Do you know what
It
I've
must
got? I've
be.
got one of them. Do you know them little like slopes that your laptop sits on to raise the keys? Well, I've got one of them, but the lip at the bottom is loosened, so now it's just sliding forward like a pendulum. So that's why my camera's shaking. Sorry
I
about
need to
that.
get one of them. Just like I can imagine having my fourth screen there. Who we got in the comments? We can see some comments coming in already. We have Sky saying here, thanks for jumping on, Sky. Though I'm in the gym, there's no better. Get your headphones in, listen to the Facebook Live. That's more motivating than listening to any dance music when you're on the treadmill. Any questions that you've got, Sky, as we are going through this, make sure to get them in the comments. Anyone else, any questions that you've got? But today's topic is one that always comes up in every Facebook group that I'm in, and there's a lot of conversation around it about it, and it's all around being ghosted. And the question that I kind of want to propose to and put to you, everyone, is: are you really being ghosted? And what we're going to do today is cover different things that can prevent you or give you better chances of getting responses from people who are getting married. We're never going to turn around and say we can absolutely eradicate ghosting. It's impossible to do that. In any industry, there's always some element of ghosting. However, it's extremely high inside of the wedding industry. But we've got data and we've got evidence basically that shows that people are not doing. I want to say I've just dropped my phone. I want to say that people aren't doing like the right things, and there's a lot of things where people have got quite strong opinions on this, and I kind of want to get into them today. Anything you want to start off with, Jamie? I've got something I want to go over that I've seen recently in a group, but I'll let you kick off with something if you want to today, mate.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I was gonna lead into that group
Go
goal
for
that
it.
you're talking about. But I'll let you talk about it specifically because you were one that kind of spotted it and went through it and stuff. But I think that it's what I'll touch on before we get into it is when we're talking about the brides and the grooms and couples and all that kind of thing. The one thing that you got to remember is that they have, unless you give them an obligation to reply to you, they're under no obligation to reply to you. It's when you think it's like a courtesy thing, and it can be annoying from that front, but you don't know what these people have got going on in their lives at the end of the day. And yes, ghosting is annoying on that front, but from my point of view, I think we have to create an obligation to get them to reply to us, rather than just expect them to reply because they've got in touch. You have to remember that they're also in touch with 3 to 5 other either photographers or videographers, and then all of the other suppliers that they're
And the
also in
other
touch
vendors
with.
as
So
well,
they're very
definitely.
busy. All the vendors, everything else that's going on in their life, all of that stuff. So even if we just come back to the either the photographers or videographers, the competition that they're also in touch with, why are they? Why should they reply to you instead of the other person? I think that's a better question to ask. Um, and you can't say that, well, they've got in touch with me because they've also got in touch with this other vendor. So we need to make sure that we're creating an obligation that is beyond just courtesy.
Yeah, I don't want this to like come across like harsh or like in the wrong way, but
Mm.
I get the impression, right? And I don't know how you feel about this, but I do get the impression that there's a bit of arrogance in the wedding industry with regards to like having an expectation that someone must reply to them. And based on loads of conversations that I've seen in threads on Facebook, where the amount of people that say, well, if they don't reply to me, I'm not going to get back in touch with them. And it's like, I can't think of another industry where a company or a business would neglect potential warm leads like that, where they've gone on you, they've engaged with your content,
Yeah,
they've gone
that's
onto your
wild.
website, they've given you the name, wedding venue, wedding date, you've been given the phone number, the email address, but then if they don't reply to one email, it's like, oh, I'm not going to get back in touch with them. I'm not going to call them. And I just, and like I said, I don't want it to come across like harsh in saying that like there's an arrogance in the wedding industry, but I find it quite difficult to understand that concept. Now, people have got their own ways of doing things, which is fine. It's your business. You can do whatever you like with your business in terms of how you get in touch with people. But if you are not following up with leads, you are absolutely part of the reason why you're getting ghosted, because it's an expect
Mhm.
people need like up to 12 touch points before they'll even purchase something. So this is why like
Yeah.
multiple touch points with ads, emails, phones, SMSs. This isn't in the wedding industry. This is just like in sales in general, that people need multiple touch points. Now imagine they've came through to you as a lead on one of the first couple of touch points. And then you just stop because it's like, oh, you've got the mindset of, oh, I'm not going to get back in touch with these because they've not replied to me. In my
Yeah.
opinion, the way I look at it, that's you as a wedding photographer and videographer. You're the one who's doing the ghosting, not the bride or groom. You're the one who has to follow up with them. They're under no obligation to reply to you. But
Mhm.
I suppose, well, do you want to see what you want to say there? Sorry, what you want to say?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, we've got. It's funny as I'm getting married myself this year, and totally get now why people don't reply. As I have so many inquiries going on between vendors. Yeah, so normally people will wait for like to reply to everyone at once or do something of that nature. It's people are busy. At the end of the day, people are busy, and you have to kind of have empathy for that. Um, and I think that's from Stu, by the way. I was just trying to find out who posted that. Cheers for
Yes,
posting, Stu.
Stu. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so we've got to create that obligation. Like, what can we create? And like Billy said, that is absolutely cynical in any other industry. Do you want to go over the stats of the poll that you were talking about? Because I've just been trying to find it and I couldn't find it
Um,
there.
to be honest, I should have had it loaded up on the screen. The last time I looked at it, right? So there was a poll inside of the UK wedding videography group, right? And someone put in, I can't remember the exact question. I'll try and find it in a second. But basically, someone put into to the group, do you follow up with brides and grooms or people who are getting married if they do not reply to you? And the last time I checked, there was over 100 replies, and over 90% of people in that group said that they do not follow up via the phone. And then when I looked at the amount of numbers, it kind of blew me mind a little bit, to be honest, because I knew there was this kind of mindset with a lot of people in the wedding industry, but I didn't realize how kind of like the extent of it. Um, and like Stu's point there, if we go back to Stu's point, right? I'm just going to load Stu's comment back up here a second. And because Stu said, like, it's funny because I'm getting married myself, and I totally get why people don't reply to the many inquiries, right? And like Jamie also said at the beginning of this, when they get in touch with a wedding photographer, they're going to be reaching out to 3 to 5. Same with a videographer, and they're probably doing the same with all vendors. Now, just picture how
Yeah.
many vendors they need to reach out to. Now, what a lot of people might be doing is collating a bank of responses for when they've got time to go through it in like themselves.
Yeah.
Now, if you only send them one reply and you haven't replied, people get so much spam in let's just talk about emails for a second. People get so much spam in emails. If you're not following up with them, you're going to get forgotten. It's as simple as that. You are absolutely going to get forgotten. Now, you're also battling against the fact that you might go into the spam account anyway if they're not using like a dedicated wedding email account that they've just set up and it's brand new. But most people are just putting the Gmail that they've used for years since they were in school with the daft username, and they're getting hundreds of emails a day, and it's easily missed. So this is why
Mhm.
it's super important to make sure that you have like a follow-up sequence in place. And we'll get into email follow-ups in a second. Jamie, I'm just going to try and find this poll, yes, so I can get the exact stats. I'll let you go talk about something when I'm
I've
doing it if you want to crack on.
I've just searched wedding videographer UK wedding videographers group, so I don't think it was in that one.
No, definitely
Um,
using that one.
but when you're searching, by the way, for speed, toggle on the filter post you've seen, and then it'll filter out anything that you haven't seen, and
Yeah,
it'll
I'm
exist.
99% certain it was in there.
So I think that from a follow up point of view, there's a few different things that come into play in terms of what to say and how to follow them up, because we'll talk to a lot of people about the WhatsApp people, and they'll get left on like 2 blue ticks, or and it's all, when you boil it all down to things. Yes, it is frustrating, but you have to subdue that frustration. And what'll happen is someone might say, I sent them a message and they give us 2 blue ticks, and that was 3 days ago. then just follow them up again. If they're ghosting you, give them due time a little bit, but as that time lengthens out, follow them up more frequently,
Yeah.
because the longer that time goes on, the more chance you've got to lose them. And what you need to do is get them on the phone or a Zoom and close them. So the longer time goes on, I would say the more frequently to follow them up, especially via text. And if you don't mind, if you're the kind of person that doesn't mind getting on the phone, if they've submitted your phone number, submitted their phone number, then then give them a call as well.
I found the poll. I found the poll in the UK videography group. So it was by Ben. I think Ben's in our group, actually. Well, I'm pretty certain he is. And the question in the group was, right, that if you've not heard back from a lead after emails and WhatsApps, do you phone them? Always thought it wasn't the done thing in this industry to randomly call leads. But interested to see what others do. There was 130 votes. 90% said no, move on. So
Also,
there's
don't phone them.
So 90% of people do not phone them. So, but what you've got to think about here, right, is, and I think it was a great question to put out there to get people's opinion. If they've provided the phone number, even if they haven't read your WhatsApps, right, it doesn't mean that they don't want to speak to you because they haven't replied. Like, people have got busy lives, they've got kids, they've got things going on. So the way I look at it is that lead is open, and we're doing them a kind of an injustice by not getting in touch with them. They've took the time to view a content. They've taken the time to fill in the form, and they want to be contacted. It might just be right at this moment in time that they're not able to get in touch. Now, don't get me wrong. I still believe if you've given them a phone call, you've got your email systems, you give them WhatsApp, there's still quite a high percentage of getting ghosted in the wedding industry. Probably, I mean, I don't have exact stats in terms of other industries, but I think it's really high. Like, it is, but there's certain things that you can certainly put in place to help eradicate and help get a higher response rate from people who are getting married by having certain things in place. And I think making sure that you send in SMS and WhatsApps and phone calls is essential to that. I think it's massive. I really
Yeah.
do. I honestly believe it. And like, I don't know. I can't explain how I feel about it. Like, I've got like a lack of understanding of why people don't do it. Because especially like there's so many people. Let's say we take 90%, right? 130 people, right? So it's like, to me, it's like, well, if you need work and you're down on your bookings and you're not hitting your targets, are you just waiting until something changes? The one thing that you could change is start phoning people, and you might
Yeah.
you might get the sales. They're literally sitting there, and they're much warmer lead than someone who just came like a random who you're speaking to.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that one of the biggest things that comes up is I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to bother people. So in order
Yeah,
to eradicate that side of things, they are happy to be contacted by you. And yes, a lot of people don't like to be bothered, but you could call them and say, listen, I know you don't like to be bothered. Is this a good time? It should be one of your opening questions. This is a good time to go through things. If not, if they say no, it's not, then say I don't want to be a bother to you. When's the best time to call you back?
yeah.
They'll give you an answer, and then you call them back then. And then now the whole thing of being a bother and being salesy and being pushy, all that kind of stuff, it goes out the window because they've said, please phone me at this time.
Yeah, and one of the comments. So I'm not going to like name people because like they might not want the name on this live. They might not be in this group. So but I'll just read some of the comments. It's in a public forum. Like, one of the comments says that like cold calling them just smacks of desperation, in my opinion. Well, you're not actually cold calling them. Cold calling
Not
someone
cold call at all.
is when they haven't given you permission to get in touch. They've actually took their time out of the busy day to fill in your form. And if they're choosing to ghost you, they're just not ready to speak right now.
They're
It's
a
your
lead, so they're warm. They're not cold
they're a
whatsoever.
lead.
They're
Yeah,
a
exactly.
hot lead.
They're a red hot lead. they've seen you.
But I think that highlights just the fear of being this salesperson. But it's not. That's not the case whatsoever. And I think that's what people need to get out of their minds here. You are following up on leads that want to be contacted by you. You're not cold calling.
What's the problem with being, even if you are a little bit salesy and it looks desperation, what's the worst that's happening if you don't contact them? You're not going to get the lead anyway. I mean, you're not going to book the lead if you don't contact them. So you might as well try and convert them. It's just like, I don't know if it's because like obviously we come from a marketing background and things like that. It's just like I just kind of wrap my head around the mindset of it. But again, it's people's businesses, so that they can do what they like. I just feel like people are leaving a lot of money on the table. That's how I feel. The amount of
Yeah,
times,
and
right, that when I ring people and they're getting married, they usually end up apologizing to me for not getting back to me. I've never once had anyone say to me, "Oh, you've sent us too many emails, you've sent us too many texts, and I'm sick of your phone calls." Not once has that ever happened. If I
Mhm.
ever do get through to them, it's always, "Billy, I'm really, really sorry for I've
Yeah.
got your emails, I've seen your texts, I've been meaning to get back in touch with you, but I'm ready to speak to you now." And I'm not saying that it's like I'm not getting ghosted. Of course I am. I've got loads of leads where I'm still getting ghosted, but I've put certain things in place, and since I've put them in place, the numbers of response, the response rate is certainly improved.
Yeah,
So that's
and
kind of my
I
two
think
pennies worth on it.
you could actually think about it as well as taking the task off their hands, because most of the time people don't reply because they've got so many replies to send out. Like, I think it was Juice put in the comments there. I mean, he's getting married and he understands the vendor gate that's going on in terms of having to reply to all the vendors and just not being able to. It is it's the issue is that, or not the issue, but what you're actually doing is helping them solve a problem faster, because they know they've got to contact you, so you're bringing it forward so that
Yeah.
they don't have to, and you're solving it for them.
Mhm.
And it's actually, so this one here, I can't tell who it's from, but I feel like the young generation just
From
don't like
Sky.
phone calls. I actually agree with that,
Yeah.
but the again, if you're able to phrase the conversation in a way that it's, "Hi, it's me," it's whoever it is, Stu or whoever it was. It's me, Billy, from Above the Action. Just want to follow up with the call, but you're going to ask them if it's a good time. That's the best. You're going to ask them if it's a good time to go through things, and if not, when would you like me to phone you back? Like, that's one of many ways you could start with. So,
Yeah.
but then you're going to completely eradicate the fact that they don't want to hear from you.
Mhm. There was actually a couple of points that were missed up here by Sky. I'm just going to go back to them. We were just saying that they always think that it's too that I'm too expensive, or that I'm not offering enough, but never get to find out, or maybe too cheap. Yeah, I mean, what is your pricing? What's your average price, if you don't mind, if you're happy to share that, because there's a market for everyone out there. Do you know what I mean? Like the podcast episode that we've done that got released last week with Richard, he's charging over 10 grand a wedding. So there's a market out there for everyone. It's about how you connect with your audience. And at every price point, there's an element of ghosting. But that was kind of my two penny. Yeah. So 1750 to 2,400. Yeah. I don't think that's too expensive. I mean, that's very almost identical to my pricing range as well. Mine's it's slightly different, but very similar. And I feel like a lot of people are in that pricing bracket. But yeah, there's going to be ghosting, but there's definitely things that you can do that you're probably not doing that can not eradicate ghosting, but it can definitely improve your response rate. So I think we should jump into the things people can actually do, Jamie, in terms of
Yeah.
actually helping get a response from couples. I mean, obviously, frequency of contact is one that we've already gone over, but I don't know if people have in the group. I know we've got a lot of new members, but we actually wrote, we give a free PDF away in a free ebook to everyone, which is called "The Secret to Never Getting Ghosted" email sequence. And this is an eight sequence email. It's an eight. Is that the right eight? It's 8 emails in a sequence. I don't know what the terminology is. That's what it is. And basically, this is set up to be automated inside of your CRM. I use Studio Ninja, but you can do it. You can automate it in whatever CRM that you're using. But it's set up so on certain days after the initial contact, these emails are sent out. And one thing that really improved the response rate on my emails was that line that we added in, Jamie, on it, where it says, "I've reserved your wedding date for 3 days." That worked. That worked quite well. But on those emails, what you need to think about is the automated, so you can forget about them when someone becomes a lead. And what's happening is they're getting multiple touch points. So even if they ignore me WhatsApps or me SMSs and me emails and me phone calls, they're getting multiple touch points as well. So they might be reading them, they might not be, but it's another way of being able to contact them.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's making sure that we create that obligation, or giving them an incentive to actually reply. Because again, you want to stand out from all the other people that are contacting them. You want to make sure that they remember you and not just remember to book a videographer or book a photographer. Do you know what I mean? You need to make sure that you stand out. You can do this not just within your ads, but also, in your follow-up sequences. You can add, time incentives to follow for them to get back in touch with you. There's a lot of things that can be done but aren't being done, and which is why I actually think is the reason for ghosting like that was so high in the wedding industry, because and by nobody's fault, I don't think wedding photographers and videographers aren't salespeople. Like, you're not trained. That's not your specialty. We're creative people. You are creative people, so it's not something that comes natural or normal at all. So, but it's something that if you learn how to just apply a few basic techniques, your bookings just from that alone can go through the roof.
I think it's from Sky. This one basically just saying, should it be WhatsApp or text? I text, but it seems more formal. I always WhatsApp, and if I don't get a WhatsApp back, I'll try an SMS. Again, I don't feel like you need to be formal. Like, I don't think it's like a corporate environment.
Yeah,
I actually feel the opposite, where people want to feel relaxed about the wedding. So I go with WhatsApp. I mean, SMS is fine, but I actually get irritated if I get an SMS. I'm like, why have they not WhatsApp this? Like, if one of my mates, if one of my mates sends me an SMS message, right? I'm like, why are they not WhatsApping this? I only know one person who doesn't have WhatsApp, and that's including like grandparents and everything. I know one, and it's not a grandparent; it's someone my age. I know one person who doesn't use WhatsApp, and I don't understand why he doesn't. But yeah, WhatsApp for me, but I will send an SMS if they're not replying to WhatsApps. Stu is just saying, I totally agree with this, as couples will usually have questions that are easier to ask over the phone. And myself, as an example, people can be lazy or feel like they don't want to call when they are not ready to book due to different reasons. Yeah, like people might be working out the budgets for the wedding. They might be like trying to decide how much they're going to spend, how much they're going to allocate to a photographer or videographer or the dress, and they might be working out budgets. A lot of people book the wedding, get really excited about the wedding, start contacting loads of people, then the wedding's a mile off, and it's like, oh, hang on, we need to rein this in. We need to work out costumes, and we need to do all of this stuff. So there's so many other reasons apart from having a busy life with work and kids and whatever else is going on in people's lives. So you've got to be able to follow up with people. You've got to have a rigorous follow-up sequence, a process, not a sequence. You've got to have a process, because it's your process which is going to get you over the line. It's multiple touch points which is going to get you over the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just got another one here. It's from Blaze. Have I said that correctly? Blaze. Apologies if I pronounce that incorrectly. I know you jump on the lives quite a lot. Tell me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, though, and I will get it right, because I'm a knacker for pronouncing names incorrectly. So always follow up. Once at a wedding fair, a couple I met loved my films, had a consultation and sent a contract after that. I heard nothing after that, even after the follow-ups. Anyway, over a year later, I was doing an offer and decided to include the couple's email. Even though the offer was at a higher price, I increased my prices by then. He emailed back and booked the offer price 1.5 years later. And he's just saying, correct, Blaze. I have said that correct. Thank you very much for confirming that. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've had anyone that far out, but I've had people like close to a year and stuff who've booked me, who like they've been a lead for so long, and it's because it takes so long to organize everything. Photographers do generally get booked quick. One of the first things I would say, videographers, we're still playing catch up on this a little bit, but by you following up regularly, you're definitely giving yourself the best chance to at least get them on the phone or Zoom, get them to answer, get them back in touch. Because what you want to do is you want to get them on the phone. Like, of all the conversations that we have inside of the Wedding Business Accelerator with the members of that, it definitely seems that the majority of people are in the agreement that once they manage to get someone on the phone or a Zoom, they've got quite a high conversion rate. So they manage to get them booked. Now, what that tells me is, right, that if people, now I don't get to see anyone else's data, so I'm taking this from word of mouth. I'm not saying people would lie. I'm just saying I'm going off what people tell us inside of the Wedding Business Accelerator. So they say when they get them on a phone call or a Zoom, they've got a really high conversion rate. Now, what this is telling me that the couples are being selective about who they speak to on the phone, because they might be filling out 3 to 5 web forms, contact forms on a website, but they might not be speaking to everyone. And this kind of makes it even more important about why your follow-up process is that important. Phone calls, leads, email sequences, SMSs, all this sort of stuff is really, really important. Suzanne, hi Suzanne, thanks for jumping on the live. I've got a couple who have paid me a part deposit and are now ignoring me. Now the rest is due. Don't usually do part payments, so it's so frustrating. How far is the wedding for this? Have you got a long time to go? I suppose I have had this situation in the past. Like my payment terms are like £250 deposit, and then I have 16 weeks before the wedding, 50%, and then 8 weeks before the wedding. And I have had it before where, like, I haven't heard it's 16 weeks they haven't paid, and then like 8 weeks comes and they've just settled the whole thing after sending like loads of emails and things like that. The wedding is next year, so you've got a year away. I mean, if it's only a part deposit, I mean, how small was the deposit? Was it like £100? Was it 50 quid? It might just be, I don't know, they might just think, oh, I'll sort it later and then they never get round to actually doing it. Don't know
I think so they've paid the deposit.
They've paid a part
and they're now
deposit.
Ignoring me, because the rest of the money is due.
Yeah, so not a full
So it's
deposit.
actually due in full.
I think the rest of the deposit's due. If you could confirm, Suzanne.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, £50. Yeah, so now it's a £250 deposit. You took £50, and she literally is just ignoring me, and I've even called. You could, yeah. I mean, what I would do is I would keep contacting her, and what I wouldn't stress about it too much. Just keep doing what you're doing, and then if another lead comes in on that wedding day and someone goes to book you, I would literally take the new booking, and if that person's still not replying to you, that's what I would do. And
I would put a time around it.
Yeah,
I would say, look, it's due. The deposit is due now. You can give them a time frame. Be a little bit lenient with it if just to show that you're being, you're kind of tipping it in their favor, so they can't say that you're being any other kind of way. And then I would just send them an email text, contact them every 3 to 4 days until the timer is up. So if you give them a month, for example, just send them a message and say that, look, I need the rest of the deposit within a month. Otherwise, I'm going to have to open the space back up to other bookings, open the date back up to other bookings, and just continue that process in a very friendly way.
I've actually got. It's worse than yours. I didn't even get a £50 deposit off them. I got someone. This was last year when I first switched my Facebook ads on, right? So I sent her the deposit. I always send out the contract, the service agreement, and the invoice, and all the paperwork, all in the questionnaire, all at the same time. She filled in the questionnaire, signed the contract, and never ever sent the £250 deposit. Now my system, if the deposit's late, sends him an email once a week automatically. So she replies to the automated emails like once every 3 months. And she begged me on the phone, she rang us and begged us not to give her a wedding date. And I explained to her, although you signed the service agreement, your wedding is not booked with me until there's any deposit. And I made it crystal clear to her that if someone comes along, I'll be taking it. She's like, no, I definitely want you. Please keep the date. And the wedding's not until 2025. And the only reason, right, I tell you the only reason I even would have even entertained that for this long is because when I first up my prices to the new ones, she went, oh, I just want the top package, which was $2,500. And I was like, oh, champion. It was about 2 weeks after doing it. But in my head now, I've just got that date available if someone comes in. And if she comes back to us and I'm free, I'll let her book it. But for me, she signed the service agreement. and didn't send the deposit. So I've made it clear to her that she's not booked. It's a tricky one when you've only got £50 because it's not a huge commitment. That's why a low deposit isn't recommended. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that now. I know sometimes when you just need the bookings and they ask for a low deposit, sometimes you just want to do it. But yeah, £50 not a massive, huge commitment. So if she keeps ignoring you after even what Jamie suggested about putting a time frame around it, I would just kind of write it off and keep have the date available in case someone else comes in. Definitely.
Yeah, and have it in your terms and stuff as well. Just make sure that kind of wording's in your terms of you need a deposit to secure a full deposit to secure the date.
Yeah, and Suzanne's just saying thank you. That was my idea. Great stuff. And she's just saying that just wondering if I was on my own thinking that. No, that yeah, I think that's pretty a standard way of handling it. I would just recommend if you can try and go back in the future, going back to your 250 deposits, just to have that bigger commitment. I've still had weddings cancelled when I've had people not follow through with the booking, even on a £250 deposit, and it's a non-refundable, basically. That's how we do it. I mean, if I did book another wedding on that wedding date, I would be tempted. You're under no obligation to do it. I would be tempted to give it back to them just because of just the way I am. I'm a nice guy. but no, but you don't have to give it out. It's £250 non-refundable. I've got a good story about one of the ones that got cancelled. Actually, it fits in quite well. I'm gonna have to tell it now. She was
you have to.
Oh, should I? With his mom, I'm not going to name any names, am I? Basically, right? They were going on they paid the deposit.
In my Audible library that I just seen, I'm like, oh, that looks good. Or I see somebody that I follow
Like these
recommends,
ones.
and I just and I haven't listened to them yet. But one of the ones I have listened to that I haven't listened to in ages, I've listened to it twice, and I really want to listen to it again. Is oh my god, now the names escape me head. It's a yellow book, but basically it is a book on it is an audio book, and it's really good because it's not like this boring kind of. It is about sales, but it's centered around stories, and the guy's a negotiator. So it's really interesting. Like it's very very interesting stories.
It's not the.
Um,
It's not the.
I
The
cannot believe I forgot the name of
the,
it.
the FBI negotiator.
Yes, I
I've got it. Yeah, man.
never
Hang
split
on.
the difference.
Never split. I've
It's
read
called
it.
Never
I've
Split the
read the whole
Difference by
book.
Chris Voss. Yeah, I've
Chris
listened
Voss.
to it
That's it. Chris
twice.
Voss.
And one of the things that he says, and this is one of my favorite parts of it, actually, this is why it came to my head this morning when I was scrolling through the Audible on the way to the office, was asking questions that elicit a no response. So asking a question that actually prompts them to want to say no. So something along the lines, instead of saying, "Would you like me to," you know, instead of texting someone, or texting them about, whatever, like, please respond, blah blah blah. Ask them instead, "Would you like me to open the date back up?" Or
Yeah.
ask them a question that's going to make them say no, as if like, "No, no, don't do that." And it's a really good technique that not only in the book, it's kind of a technique that's used to put them in control or let them feel in control, but also it elicits a response as well. So it's a really good way of getting a reply. I can't believe I haven't thought of that one previously.
I'm just looking at
That's
me.
why I need to listen to the book again.
I'm just looking at my books there, right? And I'm almost certain I've read that book, but it's not there. And if it's not there, unless it's in the office, I kind of think of.
Nah,
Oh,
it's not here.
oh man, I knew I'd read it. There we go. Never split. Never
Yes, it used to
split.
be yellow. It's yellow eye. I think they've changed the cover in recent years.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I knew I'd read it. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. This is a really, really good book for sales. It's
it's very good.
really, really good.
But I think as well, because I know it's a sales book. Like I don't want everyone to, if you get the Audible, it's really interesting. Like that's what
Yeah,
I really like about it, and that's why I've listened to it twice. Like it's really, he describes the techniques, and he's a legitimate, has been an FBI negotiator for years, and he goes through all these very very interesting stories of negotiation, and it's really, honestly, it's really interesting. It doesn't feel like a sales book whatsoever. It's
yeah.
very very good.
No, it's good. I was
Um,
looking. I knew I'd read it. I missed the first 20 minutes. Will there be a rundown of the first tips? Yeah, absolutely. We always do a kind of a bit of a wrap up, but any live that we do, we'll go live every single Wednesday at 12 o'clock. I think this is from Suzanne. And then as soon as the live's finished, we upload the live into the group so you can watch it on a replay, or you can go and catch if you did miss the first 20 minutes. That's no problem at all. It's going on my reading list. I like that. Yeah, get it on it. It's a really good book. I think this is going back to the contract conversation. You can still argue that you've completed work for that booking, be it consultation calls, preparation of contracts, questionnaires, emails, etc. Your time is a chargeable period. I would happily go to court and say that I charge £300 for the time that this takes me to essentially is the same value as the booking fee. I would argue I turned other inquiries away for the same date of potential. Yeah, you would go to court on the basis many have. Yeah. Hopefully people don't come in that situation, but I'm
yeah.
not a contract expert. The contract that I use was written by an expert, and I just go off their information which is in there. One thing as well, right, about which can help you get ghosting, and it's a bit of a one that people don't think about, is being regular with your social media content. And if you're running ads, that's
Yeah.
great. But if you're running
Mhm.
ads properly, you would have excluded someone who's become a lead already. So your organic game on social media is important, because if they've followed your page and they've been engaging with your content, there's a possibility that the platform that you're posting that content on is going to push it out to that person. They might even, in the background, even though they're not replying to you, they might be checking out your stories, your reels on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, all of the above. So it's important to be regular with your social media content, because those little reels that you put up, the pieces of content you're putting out there, can be reminders and keep you in their front of mind. You've got to think about this, right? It's a little bit like what I talked about at the beginning of this with the emails. If you're not following up on emails, phone calls, text messages, WhatsApps, you're going to
Gotta
get
be following
forgotten.
up.
You're going to be forgotten about. The people who are following up when they're all ready to buy. It's like, oh, right, I'm ready to book my videographer. Do you know what? I've seen it. They never think Billy's been hounding us. It's, oh, do you know what? I seen an email from Billy last week. I'll get him back in touch with them or reply, and then it just happens. And again, you're never ever going to eradicate ghosting. It's impossible. Everyone gets ghosted to an extent, but you can certainly help yourself and give yourself a better chance. That's what it's about. It's about giving yourself a better chance.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's about, and I think that it's the again, like having that when we talk about creating the like the buy-in and the reason for the reply. Really good point of like your content. If they're constantly seeing your ads and your content, and then they're also getting messages from you, you just want to try and show up as many different places as you can. While it costs you, and try and cost yourself less money once you become a lead, if possible, as well. But you do have to like round it up from the beginning as well. You do have to do something. Like Billy said earlier, you can't just sit there and just wait for something to change. Just keep getting. If you're able to actually get leads in, you can't just get leads in and then just wait for them to come and reply to you and wait for the ones that are going to book you, because they might book somebody that's they might become a lead for somebody that's £400 cheaper than you and doesn't stop texting them.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to. I think you've got to think about those scenarios in how that really is into competition, because competition doesn't stop once a lead comes in.
Yeah.
It actually gets a little bit more ferocious, because yes, it's narrowed down, but then what else? What are other people? Let's say it's you and 4 other photographers or videographers. What else could those 3 be doing? What if one of them is just texting them every 2 days? What if one of them's texting every day? What if one of them might not be texting them at all? Like you've got to give yourself the best chance possible.
Yeah, like I don't like. I'm just looking at the group data again and stuff. Like, it could be a possibility that all 130, well, there was 130 votes, so the 90% of those votes who said no, they just move on. They might be totally booked. They might not need the work. I suppose it does depend on the situation that you're in. But then, why are you still trying to get leads if you're fully booked? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm guessing people who voted no do need the work still. Like, everyone needs bookings. You're available on that date. It's your job. It's your livelihood. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I just think I just kind of wrap my head around not following up with inquiries and when people get in touch with you. It's I think it's really, really important. Suzanne is just saying, I feel like that puts people off pestering people. I've literally just blocked an editor who pesters me every day. Well, this is a question for you, Suzanne. Did you give the editor your details, or are they cold messaging you? Because if this is one of the editors who like one of the ones where I get bombarded off them on a daily basis, I ghost every single one of them because I've never given them my details. They're cold messaging, cold calling me. I don't want to speak to them. A bride, a groom, someone who's getting married, they've actively given me their details. They're asking me to contact them. So I don't see it as pestering at all. I'm doing what they've asked me to do. But if you can clarify that would be good. Have you asked the editors to contact you, or is it completely cold? If you could just put the comments, that would be useful information. But I don't feel like the people who've given you the information, I mean, don't get us wrong, right? I'm not saying ring people every single day, but at least have like a follow-up. Like, once you get past, so the way I do it, right, is a lead comes in, they enter my email sequence, they get 8 emails over like is it a 30 or 35 day period? There's 8 emails that go out. In that time, I'm trying to ring them and send messages like once a week. In the first week, I might try a few times, but then after that, I go down. So I'm not pestering them. I'm just following up like once a week. I'm not ringing these people every single day. That's not what we do. That is pestering. I'm not recommending that because you will get blocked. But I'm having a process to do that. So at first she messaged and then edited a sample for me. I then told her I would use what I needed, and for now she messages me every single day. I think every single day is too much. I would never recommend following up with everyone. That is a real way of kind of, people are going to get pissed off if you do it every single day. But I don't think every once a week is enough. It is too much at all. I don't think it is at all.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's you've got to be there's definitely a fear of feeling like that pushy, like that annoying person, but there's such a huge difference if somebody has went onto your website and submitted their details asking to be contacted. That is not cold calling in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
It couldn't be further from cold calling, in fact.
Mm-hmm. I like Naeem's tip. Hi, Naeem. Thanks for jumping on, mate. Naeem's just saying follow up with value, a tip, a freebie, a PDF, blog posts. Some sort of value is always a good idea. Totally agree. I like that idea, Naeem, mate.
I think that's kind of reminders of something that I think people lead to as a mistake. I think if somebody submits a lead, so somebody goes on your website, they've had a look, and then they submit their email address to be contacted. I think it's probably important to remember that the quality of your work is probably a sealed deal. So you don't necessarily need to follow up by sending them to video pages, or if somebody is unsure about what you can produce for them, they're probably not going to submit their information to you. I don't think anyone would want to hop on a Zoom to be convinced about your work. They can see that in their own time by you looking at your website and doing all that stuff. I think that it's much better to follow up with value in a sense of something that is going to elicit a response as well, would be even like a step up from that. So definitely give them always follow up with value. But in the instance that we're talking about, in terms of people are essentially ghosting your value, and they're not coming back to you, definitely go to them with something that's going to elicit a response rather than take them away. And I know Naeem's got some incredibly valuable stuff that he gives out and stuff. But I think, you've just got to. I think you have to kind of remove that stigma of contacting your leads is cold calling. It's absolutely not. To get in touch with them. Get in touch with them for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Do we have any questions? I think we've covered most of the points that we wanted to go over in today's live. And again, appreciate you guys. Appreciate everyone jumping on. Always makes these lives much better when we are getting comments and questions and you guys are engaging. We'll be live again, obviously, the next Wednesday at 12 o'clock. If you haven't listened to the Get Seen, Get Booked Wedding podcast yet, the podcast is now live. I think 3 episodes is live. Episode 4 will be going live this Thursday. We'll change the date to a Thursday, so the release date of the podcast is going to be on a Thursday now. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, you can listen to it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. You'll find the links inside of the Get Seen, Get Booked Facebook group. If you are watching this video on a replay on YouTube, make sure that you get inside of the Get Seen, Get Booked Facebook group to participate inside of these lives. Like I said, we do it every single Wednesday, and we would love you guys to be here as well. And anyone who's watching on a replay, any questions you've got, you can obviously tag me or Jamie in the comments, and we'll always do that. Or just feel free to post inside of the group. You can see we give a lot of advice inside of this group, so post inside of there. We're always happy to answer questions for you. Just while waiting for any questions, if any, Jamie, anything you just want to kind of do a recap, finish off, tidy up thing with?
No, I think that it's just you just make sure you're getting in touch with them, and don't be scared to get in touch with them, because they want to hear from you. And yes, sometimes it can be a bother, but ask them when it won't be a bother. If you get on the phone with them, the fastest way to get a response for me is to get on the phone with them and say, "Is this a good time to talk about it?" "No, it's not." "Okay, when would be the best time for you?" Like, "I don't want to bother you or pester you, but when would be the best? When can I call you back so that it's a good time for you and we can go through it?" Yeah. And then you're gonna be given a time. You're literally gonna be given a time.
Mm-hmm. One thing that you can also try and test. I mean, I've not tested this. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. Is like I must have seen this recently on a TikTok from a sales guy, and I'm sure he was talking about saying like, do any of these 3 dates work for you? So he gives like 3 dates and 3 times, and he gets them just to choose. So rather than asking like available, so I've not tested it, but I just remember seeing it on TikTok.
It's a really good idea. Really good idea.
Like, are you available like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, 12 o'clock? Which one works best? It was something like that he was saying. If I can find the video, I'll post it in the group. That just popped into my head there as we were talking. But But thanks for jumping on, everyone. Been loads of engagement there, loads of questions. Like I said, I would do appreciate that. Make sure you listen to the Get Seen, Get Booked Wedding podcast tomorrow. Like I said, it's getting released. But if not, we'll speak inside of the Facebook group and also on next Wednesday's live. Thanks very much for jumping on, guys.
Cheers, guys.